Hey everybody, this is Minion Soldier and this is the Piracy Show. Now on today's show I wanted to talk a little bit more about this ship, the Terrapin. I've been looking at it and thinking about it, and when I was thinking about it before, when I was talking about the Q&A on ship updates and all that stuff about signature management, that night I had to just kind of sit back and watch Das Boot for the first time in a little while, and it was just, I was really getting into it, the idea of using hydrophones and all that to find people, and so I was kind of thinking of ideas towards the gameplay. But the more I was thinking about it and thinking about the stealth stuff, there was another ship, it has since gone MIA, is the Prowler. The Prowler, the stealth boarding ship, which is a ship that we haven't heard anything or seen hide nor hair of. All we've been told is the last time we've gotten any kind of an update really was months ago, and it was that they were still working on the look of the Tavaran race, so we might have a ways to go yet for that ship. But I was kind of thinking about the stealth management and all that, and I was thinking, wow, the Prowler would probably be a pretty awesome ship for that as well. But then, when I was thinking about that, and then thinking about the Terrapin, I started to kind of put both together in my head. These two ships that, one of them is, supposedly very stealthy. The other one, can go into this silent running mode and whatnot. And I was thinking, depending on what we get with the Prowler, would the Prowler and the Terrapin not be a perfect combination for kind of stealing ships? I mean, think about it. If you have the Terrapin, right, heavily armored, strong, can go around in the silent running mode, can find enemies, can track them down. If you're that tough, and if you've got a twin size 2 gun mount on the nose, then in theory, once we get them, if we get them, you could put 2 size 2 versions of the Joker Sucker Punch on that thing. If you had a group of them and maybe a Prowler or some other boarding ship, depending on how resilient that ship is and depending on the targets you're going after, that would probably be a pretty effective ship for kind of tackling and neutralizing ships so that you can board them and take them. And now most people might look at that and say, well, that's not the gameplay that I intend to play. I don't want to be a pirate. I just want to explore or do this thing or do that thing. But I know that other people have been thinking along these lines. I mean, you see it on the forums all the time, is people talking about making money taking Vanduul ships, or even when we're out here and we're doing missions and whatnot, the pirate ships that hover around, instead of destroying them, what if you just went in with a Terrapin, neutralized the ship, and then took it, right? Because it's a pirate ship, so you can just take the ship, right? Or you can take it and you can disassemble it for parts. It's something to think about, especially if they focus on the Terrapins first, or if the Terrapin or Terrapins, go into in a group, the enemy focuses on them, you kind of neutralize the enemy, and then take their ships. It could be an interesting use for this ship beyond just exploration and recon, as kind of like a tackle ship. So it was just kind of something that while I was thinking about all that stuff, it just kind of popped in my head, and I thought, that would probably be a pretty darn good use for the Terrapin. Now, another thing that I kind of wanted to talk about, and it's relevant to the Gamescom presentation. Now, the Gamescom presentation was, obviously it was amazing. But the more I thought about it, the more I was thinking about the on-the-ground gameplay. The day-to-day gameplay, whether you're wandering around in Area 18 now and thinking about where things are going to go and how big things are going to get. And recently, of course, I'm sure a lot of people are very much aware, Deus Ex, The sequel is now out. And I enjoyed the very first Deus Ex, like the original Deus Ex game. I enjoyed the newer version. I had a lot of fun playing that. Still haven't found the time to fully finish it. It's only been a few years. But for me, with games like that, I often find that I'm playing it a certain way and I go, oh wait, what if I played it this way? And then I go back and I start all over again. I go, oh wait, what if I play it this way? And then I go back and I start again, and then you have no idea how many times I do that when I'm playing games. I mean, anyways. But I was thinking about that, and just thinking about the on-the-ground gameplay and the missions and the interactions and whatnot. And, someone was saying, are you going to buy the new Deus Ex? And I said, no, I've got so much going on, especially with Legion about to drop for World of Warcraft. And I've been playing a little bit of the pre-patch, and I have been really enjoying it. And it's been a while since I've had that much fun playing WoW, especially the outlaw-themed rogue, the pirate-themed rogue. I have really enjoyed that. I have found that to be really fun. Originally, I kind of thought, well, maybe I'll play. But actually, anyways, let's get back to Star Citizen. That's a whole other thing. But, the more I was thinking about it, is a game like that, like a futuristic game where you're solving mysteries and you're doing the hacking and all that stuff. It really, I would really like to see gameplay like that evolve into Star Citizen. Obviously Star Citizen is a much more space and ship centric game, but I feel that there's room for something like that. There's room certainly for certain elements to come across. I mean, especially with our characters, and not just developing our characters in the same way that you would in Deus Ex, but I guess there are room for some similarities. Like if you think about in Deus Ex, the hacking system, right? You get certain skills, certain augmentations to improve your hacking, to make your hacks more difficult to detect. So that way when you're going around and you're hacking stuff, you have a better chance for success, better chance of being, of going undetected and unlocking certain things within the game maybe a little bit earlier than you normally would be able to. But then you think about the Herald and the server racks in the Herald. Well, couldn't these sort of be like augmentations? Like you could go to some go to a criminal dealer and get certain equipment that would make your hacking with the Herald more difficult to detect or more difficult to counter. Or maybe there's racks that you could get that could make your electronic warfare much more powerful or last that much longer before you have to recycle it and redeploy it again. Things like that. And it's when I start thinking along those lines, and I think there's room in that for Star Citizen, and there's a lot of pieces that, as things have been described to us, are possibly are going to be there. And I'm very, very excited to see how things go in that direction. Now, for the longest time, I always kind of wanted to make, of course, my grizzled pirate Han Solo-esque character in Star Citizen. But there's another side. There's another character that I definitely want to make in Star Citizen. And when I'm kind of putting together the ideas of hacking and the ideas of creating a character that would not immediately be associated with my main character, a character who wouldn't have the hardcore criminal history that my main character would have, a character that I could take to different places and not have to worry about the law so much, but a character who would be not so much a criminal, but someone who skirts the law, and possibly just as a tool to allow me to reach places or possibly people that, you know, my pirate wouldn't ordinarily be able to reach. And, you know, when I'm thinking about things like this, you know, I start to think, you know, that stuff is going to be very much possible and very doable. And so I think I have a pretty good inspiration for what that character is going to be. But obviously we got to wait quite some time down the road before we can really get into that and how I feel that that's going to play out. But I think I've got a pretty solid inspiration for that character.